Hope is the most frightening thing. Oh, it's fine in small doses. I do hope they have chicken on sale today at the store. But the more you need something, the more scared hope will become. We can get to the point where we need hope so much that we don't dare touch it. Even when it's awful, when our hopes have been dashed too many times. I do hope the rain they say is coming is actually coming this time. Or when the failure of our hope is too damaging to risk. I hope that my house and my animals and every single thing I have survive the fire going through. Or when that thread of hope is starting to get a little too thin. I hope they find my husband's food, lost now for 3 weeks. All in all, hope is kind of a funny thing, as in, is it like funny? But hope is like love. It is scary and it is dangerous. But we do it anyway. As scary as it may be, having none is totally debilitating. The phrase, all hope is lost, is usually used when the speaker wants to indicate that there is no chance, there is no future, there is no reason to continue to put energy into the situation. A person who feels hopeless is literally in danger of dying. And not just from intentional self-harm, but from simply ceasing to fight for life. That's one of the things about being alive. You really do need to put some energy into living in order to keep doing it. The difference between somebody deep in grief, living through it, and not, is the ability to give that person hope. Hope for something, anything, something. If someone can just believe that tomorrow will be a little less bad than today, that little thread can get them through today. Hope has an inherent element of both faith and doubt. Without doubt, there's no need for hope. I wouldn't say, for instance, that I hope my car will start. I would be surprised if my car didn't start. I expect my car to start. On the other hand, I hope I get a good crop of grapes this year. There's uncertainty there, mixed with possibility and desire. I think it might happen. It's possible it won't happen. I want it to happen. So I hope that it does. The more stretched and unknown hope is, the more important faith is in that hope. Very often, we're hoping for things that we have virtually no real knowledge of and no control over. In order to have hope, we need to also have faith in something that we cannot see. When 12 boys from the soccer team and their coach were trapped in a cave in Thailand in 2018, it took 17 days to rescue them. 17 days for families to wait. A lifetime under those circumstances. They knew practically nothing about the details of the rescue operation, but what they did know was that it kept raining. In order to have hope, these people needed faith. Faith in something. Faith in the Thai military, faith in foreign cave divers, faith in the boys and their coach, faith in their Buddhist beliefs. Faith that things they did not understand and could not control would somehow conspire and bring their sons out alive. The boys in the cave also needed faith. Trapped in the cold and the dark, without food or communication for 9 days before the first divers arrived. If ever there were people that needed hope, it was them. But the only thing they had to hold on to feed that hope was faith in things they could not see, could not know. Faith that their people would somehow find a way to rescue them. and faith in their coach, in the meditation practices he led them, and faith in the Buddhist beliefs that they grew up with. On the day after this last Christmas, a man, Mario Garcia, and his son-in-law, Eduardo Della Torre, were walking down a creek looking for hidden fishing poles when they saw a French boat. They walked up to it, and when Mario pushed back the deployed airbag, they saw what they assumed was a lifeless body. But when they touched the man's shoulder, he swung around. The man, Matt Room, had been trapped in the truck for 6 days. His phone had fallen just out of reach, and his legs were tight with pain. He had survived by drinking rainwater, and with overnight temps below freezing, he used the deployed airbag for warmth. He yelled himself hoarse, but nobody answered. And the truck had rolled beneath the bridge and could not be seen on the road. While Navarro went up to the road to call 911, Matt thanked Mario repeatedly. He told Mario that he had almost lost all hope because no one was there. Almost. Now their life is a spot of joy. When hope is fading, but you're still clinging to a little, just enough to stay alive and close enough to the end of hope to grasp the reality of sudden relief. Mario told an interviewer that he had never seen relief like that. The first responders, it took hours to get him out of the truck and into a helicopter, said that he was smiling, laughing, cracking jokes. Here's what Matt said in his first public statement. Let's break some silence to everyone, and I mean the hundreds and thousands of people who have tried calling, texting, messaging, commenting, donating, and showing up to things like Corby's to support me. There will never be enough gratitude like you show. You guys turned an ordinary person who had a miracle happen and made him the most grateful person ever, and I cannot thank you enough. While me living through this is in and of itself a Christmas miracle, the generosity I have been shown has grown my heart 3 sizes this year. This will be a long road to recovery, and there will be dips and bends and curves. But I feel like with all of you behind me, I will be able to tackle anything. So for now, thank you. And for the future, let's get this. And happy New Year. Thus is the reward for hope. For most of our lives, thank God, we are not trapped in such dire situations where hope is a desperate thing. But here we sit, fresh in the new year, and although we may not be in fear of our homes being bombed or our children starved, we still want to go into the new year with hope for things getting better. The new year is inherently about hope. There's an arbitrary quality to when in this solar year we collectively decide to call the first day of the new calendar. But while in theory we could choose any day, in practice, we choose our seasonal marker with purpose. The most common choice, encompassing about half of the people on the planet, is someone close to the thing. While there are plenty of thoughts and theories about why cultures choose the way they do, it makes sense to me to look at it through the eyes of hope. With an understanding that the new year is about hope, and in years when the world is looking particularly difficult, and that hope is desperately needed and frightening to touch, it helps if you can hand people that hope in the form of a new beginning. And then set it up so they see things improve soon after. If you can, set it up further so that everyone can see things ahead of them that will improve their life. Those midwinter starts of the new year have the advantage that spring is right there on the horizon. Especially for agrarian peoples, spring is a very big deal. There's a dish I like, probably brought it to a potluck once or twice, called a spring or Easter pie. At its most basic, It's eggs and greens in a pie crust. Why is it called a spring pie? Because for people without Safeway and refrigerator, by late winter you're likely out of stored meat and seriously deficient in vitamins. Edible greens and eggs are just about the first thing that are going to arrive in the early spring. The idea is that after the new year, people notice an improvement, that noticing affects mood and belief. It makes stretching out to spring easier. You start everyone off with a celebration. Everyone gathers together to sing and dance, to feast as you can, be warm, and anticipate that things will be improving right around the corner. You focus on it, talk about it, think about it, the better that's coming. Perhaps add a little pumping up of faith, prayers and offerings and nature gods. Unless you're in the most northern climates, by late January, fresh greens will be starting to appear. Game, it starts to be a little less lean, and that oatmeal gruel has a little better flavor. By February, the cow is likely to drop her calf and milk. By March, you notice that hen has laid a few eggs. In April, lambs and goats are born. Every day, there's a little more light. Soon, plowing and planting and the danger of winter has passed, and every seed and every egg has hope for getting you and your kids through another year. Now, not everyone chooses winter. About a third of people celebrate the new year in the spring. Large swaths of East and Southeast Asia. And it probably will surprise no one that the cultures that do choose the spring to start their new calendar year mostly coincide with the areas that harvest rice in spring. These are tropical climates, and they don't experience the dark and cold of winter. There is no death of the landscape, and people are not usually reduced to eating only grains. More likely, they're reduced to greens, and it isn't vitamins they need so much as straight up calories. Rice is going to harvest somewhere between April and June, but it has enough nutrition to be worth cutting and eating starting about 6 weeks before that. Celebrations typically land when this occurs and are greatly focused on the coming rice harvest, which is all very nice for agrarian culture. But while we are farming culture in the broad sense, as individuals, even farmers don't really live an agrarian lifestyle. We may change from mowing to seeding, planting to harvesting, but our bellies are full the same when we sow as when we reap. Our houses are warm and well lighted every day of the year. Only about 2% of the population actually even lives on farms. For most, their hours of working runs on a clock and does not change regardless of what the light outside is doing. Even for the nearly 10% of people who work in agriculture, their workday still runs on a clock, not the sun. And I guess you could say that since there is no seasonal lean time, and since we're not coming out of a hard winter, the fact that we have no real hope-inducing fresh start is irrelevant, is it? Or maybe what it is not solving the problem. I mean, it isn't like we all collectively these days couldn't use a little hope. True hope. Hope is contagious. There's some amount that Christmas tries to provide this, at least for those who celebrate it in the form of focusing on the birth of Jesus and the anticipation of salvation. But even for people who do go to church on Christmas Day and do stop and notice the idea of future salvation, for most of them, most of their focus on the holidays is all the rest of it. And since our New Year's celebrations are mostly devolved into making noise and drinking heavy, New Year's Day for many consists of a hangover mixed with a lingering concern over just what did happen after midnight. Makes me wonder sometimes, do we remove hope from our New Year's celebration because we're too afraid of hoping for a better future? I mean, our hopes are kind of cruelly dashed on a regular basis with every new election and every new year and every new sale at Walmart. We've given up on the idea that the new administration or the New Year's resolution or the new iPhone is going to actually make any meaningful change to the good in our life. None of it's so reliable as the coming spring. Maybe we do still need a hopeful renewal every year. One that no longer is going to conveniently come automatically forming for it. One strong enough to help us stand up against a near future that looks more discouraging than hopeful. While we look at the looming tax season and the New Year's layoffs, worrying about expected rise in prices and rent, looking at an election cycle that's likely to be fraught with anger and fear. Since the day in the solar year that we choose to call the first day of the new year is not likely to change, even if we do find a day that would create a feeling of improvement that we could latch onto, it isn't like there even is a day that will qualify for everyone. A Detroit auto worker isn't likely to respond to the same day as the Florida shop owner. It looks like we may be on our own as individuals and as groups to make an actual effort to create such a New Year's celebration. And it likely will take some effort. We need to look at our lives and figure out what we need to focus on that gives us hope of improvement. Hint, not the current news. And then we need to create a celebration that will help us do that. And then we need to find like-minded people to celebrate with, because hope is so contagious. And then when we're doing it, we need to actually think about a better future, actually notice the things that are likely to improve, actually talk about it with each other. Find some things that feel like a celebration. We who feast every day. We who are warm every day. We who are entertained every day. And I can't tell you what any of that stuff will be for you. Heck, I haven't figured out what it would be for me. Honestly, right at the moment, I'm just happy that I'm finally noticing that it's important. Thank you. And now we can have a couple of ushers come up. There we go.